Good morning, fifth grade. We're going to continue reading chapter 6 of Esperanza Rising. And we're going to start with our quick write. It says, what similarities or differences has Esperanza observed between Mexico and California? How does she feel about this? So, how is California different from Mexico, and how is Mexico similar to California? And how does that make her feel? Press pause to write down your answer. You need 3 to 4 sentences, and play when you're ready to get started. Our focus question for today is, how does the use of figurative language reveal major themes in Esperanza Rising? In Educated, we're not going to be focused on figurative language, but we're going to focus on this question during parallel teaching. We have 3 vocabulary words. The first word is staccato, and that's when each sound of a note in music is sharp and separated. And so this would be an example of staccato. The second word is reassuring, and that's the act of, making someone feel better. If they're afraid, you reassure them. You make them feel better. And the third one is untethered. That means you aren't, connected to anything. So this astronaut is untethered. It's not connected to his spaceship, which is a bad sign. All right, and as we're reading, we're going to focus on Esperanza's feelings, actions, sayings, and thoughts. And so go ahead and turn in your book. I believe it's page 90. Esperanza is in the truck with Miguel and his family, and they are on their way to the farm, and they're about to stop for lunch. And so I believe it's like the middle of page 90, and we're at the part, where Esperanza is like, how much longer? And Isabel says, we'll stop for lunch soon. All right? They wove through the golden hills, softly sculpted with rounded tops, until Juan finally slowed the truck and turned down a side road. When they came to an area shaded by a single tree, they piled out of the truck, and Josefina spread a blanket on the ground, then unwrapped a bundle of burritos, avocados, and grapes. They sat in the shade and ate. Mama Hortensia and Josefina chatted and watched the babies, while Isabella lay down on the blanket between Alfonso and Juan. She was soon asleep. Esperanza wandered away from the group, grateful not to be rocking in a truck or a train. Okay, so this first part is an action of Esperanza. She's wandering away from the group, and this next piece is a feeling. She's grateful to be out of the truck. Let's keep going. She walked to an overlook. So that means she can see down below into a valley. She's at an overlook. Below, cannons plunged into an arroyo, a silver line of water from an unknown river. It was quiet and peaceful here. The sweet silence broke only in the switch of dry grass from the wind. Okay, and so this, is a thought she has. Wow, it's really quiet and peaceful here. Let's keep going. With her feet solid on the ground for the first time in many days, Esperanza remembered what Papa had taught her when she was little. If she lay on the land and was very still and quiet, she could hear the heartbeat of the valley. And this is another thought. Make sure you're underlining this. She remembers what Papa taught her about how she could feel the heartbeat. And then she says, can I hear it from here, Papa? To herself. She stretched out on her stomach and reached her arms to the side, hugging the earth. She let the stillness settle upon her and listened. She heard nothing. And so she lays down, and she's listening, but she doesn't hear anything. These are things you should be underlining as actions. Be patient, she reminded herself, and the fruit will fall into your hand. She listened again, so that was a thought that she had to herself. She listened again, but the heartbeat was not there. She tried one more time, desperately wanting to hear it. That gives us a clue about how she's feeling. But there was no reassuring thump repeating itself, no sound of the earth's heartbeat or Papa's. There was only the prickly sound of dry grass. Determined, Esperanza pressed her ear harder to the ground. I can't hear it, she pounded the earth. Let me hear it. Tears burst from her eyes as if someone had squeezed an overripe orange. Okay, this is an important paragraph. It gives us a lot of fast evidence for Esperanza. Confusion and uncertainty, those are both feelings, spilled forth and became an arroyo of their own. She rolled on her back, her tears worming down her face into her ears. Seeing nothing but the vast sky and dizzying swirls of blue and white, she began to feel as if she were floating and drifting upward. She lifted higher, and part of her liked the sensation, but another part of her felt untethered and frightened. Okay, those are feelings. She tried to find the place in her heart where her life was anchored, but she couldn't, so she closed her eyes and pressed the palms of her hands against the earth, making sure it was there. She felt as if she were falling, careening through the hot air. Her skin perspired, and she felt cold and nauseous. She took short breaths, heaving in and out. Suddenly the world went black. Someone hovered over her. She sat up quickly. How long had she been in the darkness? She held her pounding chest and looked up at Miguel. Hansa, are you all right? She took a deep breath and brushed off her dress. Had she floated above the earth? Had Miguel seen her? She knew her face was red and blotchy. I'm fine, she said quickly, wiping the tears from her face. Don't tell Mama. You know, she worries. Miguel nodded. So wait, those are some sayings you should underline. Miguel nodded. He sat down close to her. Without asking any questions, he took her hand and stayed with her, the quiet interrupted only by her occasional staccato breaths. I miss him too, Miguel whispered, squeezing her hand. I miss the ranch and Mexico and Abuelita, everything, and I'm sorry about what Isabel said to you. I meant nothing by it. She stared at the dark brown and purple ridges, staggered in the distance, and let the ripe tears cascade down her cheeks. And this time, Esperanza did not let go of Miguel's hand. All right, so let's make sure as you're going back in your text, you write down what Esperanza's feelings, actions, sayings, and thoughts. And if we just go back to page 90, we know that, let's think about some actions first in box 2. Esperanza, walks over to an overlook by herself, and she lays down on the ground, and she tries to feel the earth's heartbeat. But she's unsuccessful. So we could write that down in box 2. And this is a great quote. I'm highlighting it in green for you so you can see it. This is a great quote to write down for actions. This one too, that says she heard nothing. Okay? And so, then she begins to feel, we'll go to box 1, she begins to feel a bunch of different things. She feels desperate. She feels determined. And then she feels, confused and uncertain. So you can write those feelings down. And you can add probably this quote about confusion and uncertainty spilled forth and became an arroyo of their own. All right, and we know this arroyo is like this deep valley, and when you're talking about your feelings as a valley, that means you're in a dark place. All right, and so then we have some thoughts, some sayings. Can I hear it from here, Papa? And she also talks about how you know, she's fine, but she doesn't want her mom to know that she had this kind of panic attack. Okay? And then when we're thinking about her thoughts, she tries to tell herself to be patient on this page, but she's also just thinking about how on this page she feels, you know, she's floating and she feels like she's thinking about how she's not connected to anything. She's untethered and frightened. All right? And then you have enough evidence to go ahead and write your paragraph for number 4.